Good day, everyone. This is Jodine Limbaga, BSF first year. Today, we will discuss Lesson 8, which is entitled Stages in Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a biological process by many cellular organisms to convert light energy into chemical energy, which is stored in organic compounds. Let's discuss that later on. So now, let's go with plants are getting energy direct from the source, which is the sun. Plants use sunlight as well as water and carbon dioxide, which are plentiful in our surroundings, their own nourishment through a cellular process called photosynthesis. So, photo comes from the Greek word which means light, and synthesis, which means to build. So that's called photosynthesis. The structure on the right side shows the molecular structure of glucose, or C6H12O6, as the byproduct of photosynthesis. So glucose means is a sugar with a molecule formula C6H12O6. Glucose is overall the most abundant monosaccharide, a subcategory of carbohydrates. Now, let's go with the food chain. Other organisms then eat the plants. Then other organisms ate other organisms. Therefore, plants really are the foundation of the entire food chain. So let's about how photosynthesis work. Now, let's go with the stages of photosynthesis. The first one is light reactions and the second one is the Calvin cycle. Now, let's go with light reaction first. So light reaction, or also called light independence reaction. Light the independent reaction harness energy from the sun of produce chemical bonds ATP and NADPH. These energy-carrying molecules are made in the stroma, where carbon fixation takes place as part of the light-independent reaction, or called Calvin cycle. The entire image represents the chloroplast, which is bound by double membrane. The solution with the chloroplast is the stroma. Embedded in it are various photosynthesis and protein complexities, which from the electron transport chain. Excited, electrons move along the electron transport chain and are ultimately used to reduce NADP+, producing NADPH. The second stages is the Calvin cycle, or also known as light-independent reactions and dark reactions. So now the differences between light reactions in the Calvin cycle is the light reactions, or also known as a light-dependent reactions, is from solar energy or photons to chemical energy or ATP in ADPH. Now, the Calvin cycle, or also known as light-independent reactions and dark reactions, from chemical energy or ATPDA or ATP NADPH to G3P or glucose precursor.
There are two stages of photosynthesis, the light reaction and the Calvin cycle. Light reaction is where solar energy converted into chemical energy, while Calvin cycle uses the chemical energy from stage 1 to build G3P. the precursor of glucose to molecules. Both stages occur inside in one organelles in a plant cell called chloroplast, and there are 30 to 40 of them per cell. Photosynthesis occurs in a chloroplast, and these are the parts: the plasma modesmata, plasma membrane, cell wall, thylakoid membrane, starch grain, vacuole, mitochondrion, panoplast, peroxisome, cytoplasm, Golgi body, Golgi vesicles, small membranous vesicles, peroxisomes, ribosomes, nucleus contains nuclear pore, nuclear envelope, nucleus, and there are around 30 to 40 per cell. Chloroplast structure of two membranes: the outer membrane, intermembrane space, inner membrane, granum, thylakoid space, thylakoid membrane, stromal thylakoids, granule thylakoids, stroma, granule, ribosome, plastoglobulus, and starch granule. As what Lesson 5 discussed, chloroplast has two membranes that surround in fluid called stroma. Within the stroma, sacs called thylakoids are suspended. The sacs of thylakoids are often stuck in columns called grana, and in the membrane of these thylakoids sits a special pigment molecule called chlorophyll.
Photon. Photon is a tiny particle that comprises waves of electromagnetic radiations, as shown by Maxwell. Photons are just electric fields traveling through space. Photons have no charge, no resting mass, and travel at the speed of light. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is responsible for the green color of many plants and algae seen through a microscope. Chlorophyll is concentrated within organisms in structures called chloroplasts, here grouped inside plant cell. Okay, photon, chlorophyll ground state, chlorophyll excited state. Okay, what is chlorophyll used for? Chlorophyll is a complex green pigment found in plants, algae, and certain bacteria. Plays a crucial role in the process of photosynthesis by absorbing light energy and converting it into chemical energy. If chlorophyll absorbs a photon of a particular energy, one of its electrons jumps up to excited state. Chlorophyll excited state. Photosystem. These chlorophyll molecules sit inside of a photosystem with many other chlorophylls in its ground state, represented by blue circles, and this excitation state, and represented by yellow-green circle. After observing a photon, represented by yellow circle, can get passed around from molecule to molecule, with one electron relaxing back, can get passed around from molecule to molecule, with one electron relaxing back to the ground state, emitting another photon that will excite an electron in another molecule, and so forth, like a pinball machine. Reaction center complex. Eventually, a photon will strike the reaction center complex, represented by red circle, which also contains two molecules of chlorophyll.
So my name is Chanimero Wallace. So for this video, we are going to discuss about the reaction center complex. So as you can see here, there are three illustrations. So from here, and for the second illustration, this is the reaction center complex, and it contains a special pair of chlorophyll, a molecule. So for the third illustration, eventually a proton will strike the reaction center complex, represented by the brown circle here at the center, which also contains two molecules of chlorophyll. Okay, so for the second illustration, so this is the electron transfer instead of proton transfer. So primary electron acceptor. So for the third, this is the primary electron acceptor also. So after the proton strikes the reaction center complex, the high energy excited electron, rather than relaxing back down to the ground state, will instead of transfer to another molecule called the primary electron acceptor above the reaction center complex here. So H2O becomes O2 to reduce final chlorophyll. So after which, an enzyme supplies the missing electron to the oxidized chlorophyll via a water molecule to get it back to the normal state, back to the normal color, which is the violet color, which is how oxygen molecules are produced.
Discussed on the previous slides, number 11 to 15, show how photons or solar energy from the sunlight are utilized in the first stage of photosynthesis. Next, let's move on to the first step of light reaction, which is the stage 1. Solar energy photons to chemical energy, ATP and the NADPH. In this figure, the stroma outside the thylakoid and the lumen is inside the thylakoid. The steps in light reactions are the series of redox reactions or the readduction and oxidation reactions that occur first in the photosystem 2 and then in photosystem 1. If the photosystem seems like they are named backwards, it's because they were in order that they were discovered. Step 1. In photosystem 2, electrons or the red circles FBW beginning with the primary electrons acceptor through a series of compounds that are embedded in the thylakoid's membrane, sort of like the electron transport chain from cellular respiration. The movement of electrons is represented by the red arrow.
Step 2. Electrons will move through photosystem I, another electron transport chain, but instead of producing ATP, photosystem I will result in the conversion of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate or NADP plus into NADPH. Stage 1. Light reactions. What is light reactions? Light reaction is the first stage of photosynthesis process in which solar energy is converted into chemical energy in the form of ATP or adenosine triphosphate and NADPH or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. The protein complexes and the pigment molecules help in the production of NADPH and ATP. Ang reactants niya kay light plus 2HO plus NADP or plus 3ADP or automatic data processing plus 3P. Ang products niya kay O plus 3ATP plus 2NADPH. So the light reactions in the thylakoid, which are summarized by equation above, requires sunlight and water among the reactants to generate oxygen, ATP, and NADPH as products.
Hi everyone, my name is Darwin Binag and my topic is all about the Calvin cycle. So what is Calvin cycle? Calvin cycle is a series of biochemical reactions that takes place in the chloroplast of plant cells during photosynthesis. It's part of the light-independent reactions and is responsible for converting carbon dioxide into glucose. the Calvin cycle. ATP and NADPH are used to synthesize organic molecules or anabolic pathway. So diri nga saida, kung siya ginatawag og thylakoid, has ATC and ATP synthase for photophosphorylation. O diri nga saida diri kita abot diri, mo siya ginatawag og granum, which is flat membrane stacks increase SA ball ratio and small internal volumes quickly accumulate ions. So diri nga saida mo siya ginatawag og stroma, which is has appropriate enzymes and a suitable pH for the Calvin cycle. So diri nga saida kadire ginatawag na siya og double membrane. Evidence for endosymbiosis or independent origin. So diri nga saida dire mo siya ginatawag og lamella, which is connects and separates thylakoid stacks or grana. ATP and NADPH are then used in the Calvin cycle, which occurs in the stroma. This is where all the synthesis occurs. Unlike the citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle, which is catabolic, the Calvin cycle is anabolic, which means building of organic molecules from smaller components requiring energy. So when we say catabolic refers to metabolic processes in living organisms that involve the breakdown of complex molecules into simpler ones, releasing energy in the process. These reactions often release energy stored in the chemical bonds of molecules. Catabolic processes are essential in providing energy for various circular activities. Example of catabolic processes include breakdown of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in smaller molecules. So ang Calvin cycle daw has 3 phases. Phase 1 is carbon fixation, phase 2 is reduction, phase 3 is regeneration of ribulose. Carbon fixation. So when we say carbon fixation, it is a crucial process in photosynthesis where atmospheric carbon dioxide is converted into organic compounds. During Calvin cycle, which is part of light-independent reactions in plants, carbon fixation occurs. Phase 2 is reduction. Reduction in a chemical and biological context, it refers to the gain of electrons or the decrease of oxidation state of an atom, ion, or molecule. It is the opposite process of oxidation. During reduction, electrons are added to a substance, leading to a reduction in positive charge of an increase in a negative charge. Proceed sa phase 3, which is regeneration of ribulose. Regeneration of ribulose is a crucial step in the Calvin cycle during photosynthesis. So that's all about Calvin cycle. Hoping nga namoy nakutlo nga pagtulunan about sa akong gi-discuss. And daghang salamat sa inyong pagpaminaw o sa paglantaw ni ani nga video. May God bless us all.
Phase 1. The 6-carbon molecule undergoes instability and divides into 2 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate. This process is part of the glycolysis pathway, a crucial step in cellular energy production. During phase 2 glycolysis, 3-phosphoglycerate gains a phosphate group from ATP and it's subsequently reduced from NADPH. This reduction step is essential for the conversion of 3-phosphoglycerate into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, contributing to the overall energy yielding process in cellular metabolism. After gaining a phosphate, 3-phosphoglycerate transforms into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or G3P. By losing a phosphate group, some of this G3P serves as the output of the Calvin cycle, proceeding into other metabolic pathways that contribute to the synthesis of glucose and various organic compounds. In phase 3 of Calvin cycle, some glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecules return to regenerate more ribosphate or RUBP, restarting the cycle for further carbon fixation and glucose production.
Photosynthesis is the process in which light energy is converted to chemical energy in the form of sugar. It is a process driving light energy. Glucose molecules or other sugar are constructed from water and carbon dioxide, and oxygen is released as a byproduct. During the light dependent stage light reaction, chlorophyll absorbs light's energy, which which excite some electrons and the pigment molecules to higher energy levels. This leave the chlorophyll and pass along a series of molecules generating formation of NADPH, an enzyme, and a high energy ATP molecules. Photosynthesis occurs in two phases in the light reaction, light and water. Goen, an oxygen comes out as well as the ATP and NADPH that are used in the Calvin cycle where carbon dioxide comes in and organic products like sugars comes in. In this way, photosynthesis is almost like the reverse of cellular respiration. Both processes involve a series of redox reaction when the electrons just flow in opposite direction. In photosynthesis, sugar is built while in cellular respiration, sugar is disgraded. And that's how plants make their own food.
Alright.